how to bring a little bit of adversity, an introduction to adversity, into your baby's life. Whenever I mention this to someone, especially a parent with a newborn baby, that they need to introduce adversity into their baby's life, I almost always get the same look. Basically, what are you, crazy look? But I'm not crazy, I'm serious. If that person is willing to listen to me, which is one example, I'm usually able to get them to see the truth about what I'm talking about. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 examples of how to bring adversity, starting adversity, into your baby's life. I'm going to explain why it's so important. I'm going to talk about the benefits, not just to your baby, but also to you as the parent. My ICD parenting philosophy, raising your child to be an independent, confident, good decision maker, is first and foremost about how to prepare your child for life as an adult. And that preparation starts simple, and it's easy, and it starts with your newborn. Now, before I get into my 3 examples, I want to show a short trailer from a movie called The Boss Baby. It was released in 2017 with Alec Baldwin as the voice of the baby. I like this clip, and it's relevant to what I'm talking about in this video. Enjoy.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Look how helpless he is. Can't even change his own diaper. Well, can't or won't. Diapers are all about power dynamics. I poop, they wipe, bam! I'm the boss.
What I find so funny about that clip is how truthful it is. It's realistic in the sense that your baby is the boss. They cry, you jump. They scream, you jump. They make virtually any noise, and you jump. Every baby is the boss baby. In all 3 of the examples I'm about to go over, I am first and foremost talking about introducing adversity into your baby's life to start them on their path to dealing with adversity as an adult. But the other side of this coin is the habits you, mom and dad, need to form when dealing with your baby. If you, as the parent, form good habits while your baby is a baby, you'll hopefully keep those habits alive and well throughout your son or daughter's childhood. Because what I see so often is that parents and parenting experts don't seem to realize that the habits mom and dad should be forming as new parents have a huge effect on the development of your child. Your job is not just to develop good habits in your children. It's also about you forming good habits to help you be the best parent you can be. Okay, baby adversity example 1. My wife and I visited longtime friends of ours soon after they had their first child. Their daughter was closing in on 3 months of age, and we were already a bit late in meeting their newborn for the first time. We owed them a visit. They were attending an event and needed someone to watch their daughter for an afternoon and late into the evening. It's always an honor when someone trusts you with their baby, especially first-time parents with a newborn. We spent the first day getting familiarized with their daughter's routine, and to be blunt, I was a little concerned. Here's why. When it was time for their daughter to nap, mom broke out something called a blackout tin, or blackout pack and play. I'm not sure if these things were a thing when my son was born, but it appears they're rather common with today's parents. As you can guess, the purpose of a blackout tent is to drastically diminish, or hopefully remove, all light so that your baby can sleep in a pitch black environment. In addition to the blackout tent, they had a noise machine. I'm familiar with these things for adults. I mean, my wife actually sleeps with one. But I didn't realize they made these specifically for babies and young children. After that visit, I did a little research on these things. I found all kinds of versions. Yoga sleep, mom cozy, baby sense, so many options. Combine the blackout tent with a baby noise machine, and mom and dad have created the perfect environment to help their baby fall asleep and nap. And therein lies the problem, in my opinion. Creating a perfect environment for your baby to sleep sounds great on paper. But what do you think happens when your baby gets used to those sleep aids and then they no longer have them available? I'm sure you can probably see the problem. Guess what happened when they started to bring their baby to daycare a few times a week? Their little one had a very difficult time napping. I'm going to use a quote from Winston Churchill here. He said, "Perfection is the enemy of progress." By creating a perfect environment to nap for their daughter, they set her up for failure whenever that environment wasn't available. Now, here's my suggestion. Sometimes baby does need a perfect napping environment. Maybe they're sick or recovering from a cold or something. Maybe they were overstimulated during a visit from family or friends and are having a difficult time settling down to take their nap. For those reasons, probably many more, a blackout tent and a baby noise machine might be just what the doctor ordered. That is, absolutely in the best interests of your child. However, I recommend that mom or dad should, oftentimes, purposefully make their baby's sleep environment not ideal. Leave the light on when they lay down and nap. Or if they're near a window, shift their crib so that the light shines on them. Noise, play music. And I'm not talking about classical or sounds of the ocean. Put on a radio station. Classic rock would be ideal. Purposefully make their sleeping conditions not ideal occasionally, and let them get used to sleeping in those conditions. When dealing with babies and young kids who do nap, they need to nap. Preparing them for sleeping anywhere will benefit them. And a side benefit, it'll be a huge help to mom or dad when you need to get them down somewhere that's not ideal. Baby adversity example number 2. Far too many parents default to always picking up a crying baby. It's not good. And it's not because it spoils your baby. First, you should always check on a crying baby. They're a baby. It's the way they communicate, and you have to make sure they're okay. Babies cry for a reason, and sometimes it's an important reason that a parent needs to address. However, you don't need to pick up a crying baby every time they cry. Now, let me address the "you can't spoil a baby" concept. That is 100% true. You can't spoil a baby. It's a baby. You know what the definition of spoiled is? It's a person, child, adult, who is excessively demanding or immature. Picking up a crying baby every time the baby cries is not about spoiling the baby. First, it's about conditioning your baby with a response. Your baby will learn that crying gets them comfort, being picked up, hugged, talked to gently. As your baby grows to be a toddler, guess what? That conditioning becomes a real problem. Your child will have learned that crying and whining gets me the comfort I'm looking for. That's not good. Second, just as important, it's about conditioning mom and dad. This is the argument no one seems to ever make. Mom and dad become conditioned. They develop the habit of always comforting a crying baby. They're conditioning themselves subconsciously to immediately attend to their upset baby. And you know what? That's bad. Because mom and dad are developing a habit. It's a bad habit. Guess what happens as baby grows from an infant to a toddler to a young child? Mom and dad, without any real conscious thought, instantly default to comfort mode, attending to a crying child. You see, making a habit of not picking up your baby every single time they cry helps both baby and mom and dad in the long run. Don't form bad habits in your baby or with your parenting. Everyone loses. Baby adversity example number 3. Feed your baby anything and everything. Food is a great way to add a little adversity and diversity into your baby's life. Babies should start eating solid food somewhere around 6 months. And that's really when you should start introducing your baby to all kinds of foods, different foods. Yes, you need to cut it up very fine and avoid, choking hazards. But basically, babies can eat virtually anything that you eat. You just have to take the time to prepare it properly for their little mouths. The great thing about introducing a baby to different foods is that they're too young to argue with you about it. Yes, they might hate it and spit it up, but that's fine, that's to be expected. But the important thing is that they're going to try it because they're a baby. They don't have a choice. If you wait till your son or daughter is older to introduce variety into their diet, at that point you'll get arguments and pushback long before they ever put it in their mouth. This is why feeding babies all kinds of different things is so important. You can actually get it in their mouth. And that's really the critical part. If they refuse to try it, they'll never know if they actually like it. If you know any adults who are picky eaters, the chances are high that they were picky eaters as kids. And that's something good parents want to avoid. Picky eaters are a nightmare. My wife has a friend whose son was a very picky eater as a baby. And of course, this picky eating behavior continued into childhood. Mom was very concerned that her child wouldn't eat anything. But there was one food that her son ate without hesitation: Wendy's French fries. So, guess what Mom did? If her son wasn't eating, she would drive to Wendy's and get French fries for him to make sure he ate something. And I get it. Your 1-year-old, your 2-year-old won't eat, and you're desperate to get something down their throat. But this is not the way to do it. Mistakes were made when her son was very young. He had a very limited diet with little to no variation, and her son did not develop a very good palate. At first, this seems like not a big deal, but over time, it is. Now, 20 years later, when the family gets together, Mom has to make at least 2 different meals, one for the majority of her family, and the second to appease the ridiculously picky son who still doesn't eat much. Is getting your baby to try all kinds of different foods an adversity? Yes, it is. It's a very simple one. And here's what's most important. By doing this, you as a parent are also conditioning yourself. You're modifying your behavior. You're forming habits that will benefit your children. Learn to cook a wide variety of foods when your child is very young. It will benefit both you and your child. Now, I mentioned forming habits earlier when I talked about picking up a crying baby. Just like with that issue, parents need to understand that it's just as important for you to form good habits as a parent as it is to help your child form good habits when trying to raise your child to be an ICD adult. By introducing small beginner adversities into your newborn's life, you're setting the stage for them to deal with all the adversities they'll deal with throughout their childhood and all the adversities they'll deal with as an adult. The earlier you start, the better prepared they'll be for facing the challenges we all deal with throughout our lives. You don't start this stuff when they're in high school or middle school or even elementary school. If you start this from virtually day one, introducing adversity into their lives, that often repeated mantra of a parent wanting their child to get ahead or get a leg up on their peers, in this case, it's 100% true. Thanks for listening.